At the end of the day, man, it's excruciating. Reading this book, it's excruciating. Your heart is gonna be doing this. Hey, I'm just being real, man. You want me to love you, but you don't love me now. Why should I give my heart to you? We gonna shut that motor down. I've been searching for you for a long time now, but you've left my heart's vision. Now you want me to stay in your life. That won't happen again. No, you said no. I said no. Can't blame you. No. I like that book. Boy, I sure wish I could roll down this window with no problem. It's hot. I like that book. It's here now. And so, I want to talk about a book. I want to say Anthony Doerr. Anthony Doerr. That's the author. And the book is All the Lights We Cannot See. I'm not going to lie to nobody. This book was a struggle to get through. I think the plot and the pacing kind of struggled up a hill. And for that, you know, my interest in things like that sort of suffered, you know. What isn't lost is the meaning of the story. Overall, just a great book to read if you feel like, you know, you like that historical fiction, that sort of coming of age story. At the end of the day, it's a very, very slow pace. This is the first time in like 15 weeks that I didn't read a book a week because I had to extend this in 2 weeks. But this is a book that you do not want to rush. You're not going into it looking for, you know, a high-speed chase. You know what I mean? Ain't gonna be no, oh, never mind. It's gonna be some explosions, but ain't gonna be the, you know, the Fast and Furious type explosions going on. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's a great book to read and get across. And so let's talk about it just a good bit. I wonder how long I can do this. Check it out. Marie-Laure lives in Paris near the Museum of Natural History, where her father works. When she is 12, the Nazis occupy Paris, and father and daughter flee to the walled citadel of Saint-Malo, where Marie-Laure's reclusive great-uncle lives in a tall house by the sea. With them, they carry what might be the museum's most valuable and dangerous jewel. In a mining town in Germany, Werner Finnick, an orphan, grows up with his younger sister. Enchanted by a crude radio they find that brings them news and stories from places they have never seen or imagined. Werner becomes an expert at building and fixing these crucial instruments and is enlisted to use his talent to track down the resistance. Deftly interweaving the lives of Marie-Laure and Werner, Doerr illuminates the ways against all odds. People try to be good to one another. The Fuhrer, you know, Hitler himself, egghead ass, is trying to bring everybody, you know, the young boys over to be his youth, you know, Hitler's youth. And so we have Werner, who's raised up in this this children's home, that's what they call it. It's an orphanage with his young sister. And he's incredibly smart. He's incredibly smart. He's very inquisitive. He has a notebook entitled Questions, and he just questions everything. And he's noticed right away, fairly quickly. He's noticed. I'm thinking that he's going to like a university or some type of trade school because he got noticed, and he ended up going to a school where, again, they're basically Hitler's youth. And Marie-Laure is you know, she's blind. She's blind, but you know, have a heart of gold. You can tell right away she has a heart of gold. Nothing is really mentioned about her mother. I believe her mother passed away. Her father, beautiful man, created model towns and things like that for her. You know, she lives here. He'd create like 6 blocks, 8 blocks around, like a radius. And you know, he would take her out into the town. He'd spin her around. Come on now, you done ran your hand inside of this model that I created. Basically, very, very accurate of the town we live in. Get us home. And slowly but surely, she would start to do that. But while these two people are trying to live their life, of course, like I say, Hitler, egghead ass, starts his, you know, his ego maniacal reign right there in the middle of, you know, the story, or the beginning of the story. And so these two kids are snatched away very early. Werner snatched away because he, you know, he was noticed, and we think he's gonna go away to a school where he can, you know, basically advance off of his smarts. And Marie Lower and her father has to escape either in the middle of the night or whatever, because you know the Germans are basically about to you know, storm in and try to take over France. So all throughout this story, man, you just see two kind-hearted people. I don't care about none of that. Two kind-hearted people trying to be good to everybody they come across, but also trying to survive, and also trying to figure out the meaning of life, right? And a big motif is light, you know what I mean? The light of the skies, the light of people's hearts, the light of the soul, the light inside of our head. Even though our brains, I learned, is just, I mean, I kind of knew it, but our brain is sitting in darkness 24/7. But from that, it creates this beautiful, beautiful world filled with light and with color and with meaning. And so right away, you feel very attached to these kids based off of their curiosity, period. And again, just be ready for the snatches, the evil snatch that, you know, war and, again, egomaniacal men, just maniacs, man, can have on childhood, or just people in general. Yeah, ain't going nowhere. Yeah. The cover, again, it's an amazing scenic portrait of just this city, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's France, I don't know if it's Germany, I think it's France, but at the same time that it's beautiful, there's a tone that's kind of ominous, right? It kind of looks like the city won't survive the night, and you going into it, and you're like, okay, the color scheme is amazing, but why is it blue? And, you know, there could be symbolism there. I mean, this is just historical fiction at its best. One of the downsides, of course, to historical fiction sometimes is the pacing. It was a very slow pace, very slow pace. At the end of the day, it's not to rile you up and get you thrilled out like a dang on roller coaster. It's to slow things down and paint a picture of, you know what I mean, the impossibility of love during a time such as, you know, what was going on in 1940 over there. Want to get that up there. Definitely messed up, but hey, I believe in God, so he's on my side. Surprisingly, this book is, and it's kind of attached to the title, but this book is very, very sciencey, you know what I mean? Everything is mechanical, theorized, hypothesized, and you know what I mean? I think one example was this little boy, young boy Becca, and you know, he was sprinting or whatever, and I think Werner was thinking like, okay, well, maybe this kid hasn't had the practice, you know what I mean, with running or whatnot, and basically what he was saying was even running is formulaic, you know what I mean, which it is. There's a procedure, there's a science behind doing that efficiently. You're gonna learn a lot. You definitely gonna learn a lot from this book, and just be ready for that sort of technical side of the narrative and in the monologue and dialogue. Another thing is we hear a lot about people fleeing Germany to get away from Hitler and his agenda, but here we go inside the people who are doing the fleeing, you know what I mean? And I think that was an interesting perspective, something that reaches out and grab you by the neck like, yo, this really happened, we really went through this. And I don't give a damn about what nobody say about fiction. It's drawn on reality. It's drawn on what we learn from nonfiction. And so a person, you know, like me, I'm a writer. I'll see something historical and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Let me create two characters and put them in that situation. Go do interviews, read articles, watch documentaries, and show what really went on, you know what I mean? And try to just make it interesting enough for somebody to read in the story and create awareness of, you know, just like Titanic. Didn't nobody give a damn about Titanic until the movie came out, you know what I mean? DiCaprio and Kate Winslet fans. Kate Winslow? Kate Winslet. Pray for me. The plot, it was definitely interwoven. It's clear. It's clear. It's very clear. There's a learning curve. A lot of names, the places. If you don't speak French, if you don't speak, German, I don't know if Russian was spoken then. But the point is, it's a lot of names there that'll switch you up. Even in the blurb, Werner. We say Werner, but all throughout the audiobook they were saying Werner. What I would say is Marie Laure. They were saying Marie Laure. It was something. It was strange, man. That's all I'm trying to say to you. I still don't know the uncle's name. ATN. I don't know how to spell that stuff. But he was a cool character, or whatnot. Scary as hell. But he kind of redeemed himself a little bit. But the point is this: not so much a steep learning curve, but you definitely got to pay attention. You got to take this book seriously. At the end of the day, man, it's excruciating. Reading this book, it's excruciating. Your heart is gonna be doing this. Hey, I'm just being real, man. It's what these people went through. Characters that you come to love, man, is hurting on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. Just excruciating to get through this book, agonizing. But there's still meaning and some beauty in the suffering, man. Trust and believe me when I say that. I won't say anything, extensive about the characters, but I'll bring attention to some of my favorites. Marie Laure's father, just exemplary. You know what I mean? How patient he was. On top of that, his child was blind. His wife was deceased. They were in the middle of a slow burning war getting started. She was very inquisitive. And every time, she needed something, it was just wonderful to see how he responded. Always patient, always calm, you know what I mean? And I think at one point he was thinking like, okay, am I doing the right thing here? Am I raising her correctly? What can I be doing better? Nothing, man. You did your damn job. And I guarantee you it was so many like him during the war that was just doing their job and doing their best. And that's it. That's it. That's all you can ask for. How will I act to my daughter if I'm in them situations? I ain't got no food. I probably yell at her like that. Sit down and hush. All right, hopefully I won't do that. But the point I'm trying to say is you don't know how you would act in a situation with all that pressure around you. And at every turn, he was just exemplary and patient and kind-hearted and just the basic, you know what I mean, what's the word? He was the epitome of a loving parent. And anything that ever would go wrong with him, even from the start, man, I was like, please don't let nothing happen to him. And so tight with that character. I definitely love that character. The two main characters, Marie Laure and Werner, it's two characters, both inquisitive and smart. One more technical, one more of the arts, on opposite sides of a world. One trying to get away from Hitler, right? One trying to survive living within it. One already demonizing what Hitler's agenda is doing. The other is turning a blind eye. You know what I mean? Werner's sister would often tell him like, it's not right what's going on here. It's not right. And he knew she was correct, because he would often not want to go into those conversations. It's the classic story and character arc of someone trying to come into their own because they're trying to get out of a situation. They know what they're doing is wrong, but they don't want to go to the extreme of that wrong. As long as they can do enough of it to not morally compromise themselves too much in order to get by. But then all of a sudden, towards the end, we see, you know what I mean, his arc coming to where we want it to come to. Dracula. Frederick, another beautiful character that I loved. He's one of those people who kind of had that character arc where we as the reader wanted Werner to get to. He already knew who he was. He already knew what he was going to do and not do, even though he was at the school. I'm not going to say too much there. But beautiful, beautiful character. But, you know what I mean? Again, the sins and flaws of man definitely intercepted his good intentions in this life. But I think one of the themes was, you know what I mean, when Werner was trying to explain and make an excuse why he didn't help Frederick during a bad situation at the school. And, you know, him just wishful thinking like, oh man, it shouldn't be like this, blah, blah, blah. Frederick basically said, your problem, Werner, is that you still believe you own your life. What? That's sad, man. And that's the truth that they went through during this time, especially Hitler's youth. I will say this, it's kind of, it's twisty. It's twisty. You cannot like guess what's going to happen per se. But the way it's written, third person omniscient or whatever. But the way it's written, third person omniscient or whatever. Third person omniscient or whatever. But the way it's written, third person omniscient or whatever. Head hopping is going on. My turn, your turn. You can kind of see what's going to happen with these characters. Heartbreaking in a sense, and mysterious in a sense. But if you're paying attention, you can tell. You know, who might be arrested, who might die, and things like that. So, just a little nugget, and pay attention there. Let me see now. As far as the setting, just be ready for some vivid details. Even about the Paris home before Maury Lore and her father flees. Children's home, you know what I mean? Just the sounds of it, the smells of it. Living with I forget that, you know, the mistress or the lady's name who runs the children's home, Fraulina. But even the streets that they walk upon, the animals that you see, the sunsets, the sunrises, the beach smells, you know, it activates the five senses very well in these towns. Even though it may be bombers going overhead, you know what's going on. And because one of the characters is blind, you kind of get a differentiation of feels. One is more, you know, sight, like what's going on, and the other one is more feel and just listening and things like that. And just a master at his craft when it came to writing. Open your eyes, concludes the man, and see what you can see with them before they close forever. And I mean, personally, I think the idea behind that is live your life. Live your life. You know the greatest lesson of history? It's that history is whatever the victor says it is. That's the lesson. Whoever wins, that's who decides the history. If I keep listening to you, Papa, I'll die of starvation with food in my hand. She literally had to be quiet, and she had food in her hand, but she couldn't make noise opening it. Scary, sad stuff, man. Let's talk about some takeaways, man. What I gathered from the story. Become a Renaissance man, a Renaissance woman. You know what I mean? I think Werner's thirst for knowledge and wanting to know more and the secrets and the mysteries of this world, that was contagious. It made everything around him vibrant, because he's in children's home. For the most part, everybody that, you know, that usually come from an orphanage, they got the same mindset. You know, when can I get adopted in to a loving family, and then my life will start? Nah, man. Learn as much as you can about as many things as you can, I should say. That makes you more of an interesting person. You know what I mean? You know, you be at a party or whatnot, you chilling, you hanging out. It's not the person that don't know too much about nothing that becomes that person where, okay, I want to hear him in discussion or hear her in conversation. She's interesting. So learn as much as you can about everything if you can. Both of the children, you know what I mean, are looking into the future, searching for something. You know what I mean? Searching for, you know, color in this world in different ways. Maybe consider yourself, maybe consider being fit, period. You know what I mean? Over here in this story is talking about how people need to flee in the drop of a dime. People need to run. People need to hide. People need to climb stuff. They were talking about people waiting 5 hours and things like that for a loaf of bread. Over here in this country, because of the government that we have set up, right? The rights, the leniencies and things like that. It'll kind of be civil unrest. It will be. And so how fit are you? How prepared are you to protect yourself? How prepared are you to protect your family? And we big, man. We hungry over here. I think we the most obese country or whatever the case may be. Nah, man, take care of your temple, because you never know. You know what I mean? I'm sure people that lived during the 1940s over there, when Germany was basically trying to take over everything around it, you know what I mean? They didn't know it was going to happen at the drop of a dime like that. And so I thought about it myself. Like, okay, let's get out of this struggle. Let's do some push-ups, some sit-ups every night. Let's do it. Am I going to do it? Probably not. It's a takeaway. Am I going to take it away? Maybe I won't be 300 pounds in a couple months. Maybe I won't be. I think another takeaway is just how chronically violent Nazi Germany was. You know, one officer was saying how prosperity depends on aggressive and violent ferocity. And one of the quotes he had was, the only thing that keeps your precious grandmothers in their tea and cookies are the fist at the end of your arms. But I say no, it doesn't. You know what I mean? What about intelligence, grace, and finesse? You know, governments and leaders of nations don't need to be aggressive, man. Governments like that soldier was trying to explain. You know what I mean? They're the ones who issue voluntary surrendering of the weapons. You know what I mean? Why you need to go in these citizens' home and take their weapons? What are you planning? For what? For why? You know what I mean? Weapons and radios, you know what I mean? In my house, if you taking them, that's kind of a prerequisite of total control, of government control, tyranny. You know what I mean? They're just delusional. You know, the same man that said that, Bastion or whatever his name was, that Nazi Germany officer, you know, he basically called a man who stole milk a barbarian, and said that they stopped him before he did anything more nefarious, like killing you. He was talking to the kids at the school that Werner was going to, because they was trying to snatch away all morality and all compassion out of these kids' hearts or whatnot. And I mean, it's no reason to go into it, because we can look in any history book and see what the result of Nazi Germany was. But the point is, nah, governments don't need to be so aggressive. You know what I mean? Because the true power lies in what? In the people. It's the people who elect these people or whatnot, or put these guys on the pedestal and let them run the country. They have the true power. Yeah. Been doing that for some years now. Another thing I can talk about is how proximity and where we're born kind of determines what we believe in, for the most part. I went to a trucking school, C1 Solutions, in Indianapolis, and everything was going good for 4 days, 5 days, or whatever. And you know, because we got so cool, all of us, you know, having a good time, enjoying ourselves, laughing, driving these trucks. We were sitting around one time waiting our turn to go out on the road, and me and this one guy, you know, big cool guy, by the way, cool guy. You know, he heard me talking about Christianity and things like that in the Bible. And, you know, he basically put me on blast and said, yo, bro, you only believe that because, you know what I mean, you was born to Christian parents and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, he had the whole crowd going crazy on him. And then there was this other guy who was believing in, I don't know if it was, you know, Islam or something, man. He was just going into me like, yeah, tell that young buck, blah, 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 blah. Oh, young buck, you don't want to deal with me. You don't want to deal with me. And I was like, nah, I want to learn. What are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And so the same guy that brought up the whole conversation, big cool guy, he pulled me aside and said, look, I'm a Christian too. You know what I mean? I just give Christians a hard time because they go so hard on other people. He wasn't specifically talking to me, but he was saying Christians go so hard on other people because they don't realize, or without realizing, that because they were born in this country to Christian, that's probably why they believe what they believe. The people over in Nazi Germany, the more of my takeaway is, a lot of these evil people were made like that based off of their upbringing and the soil that they were that they were born on. And so it's not to excuse people, it's just a thought, you know what I mean? It's just it kind of go into the idea of never being a bigot and practicing empathy, but it's an idea to think about, like, okay, don't be so hard on people all the time. And so that's something that Werner, because he was born in that nation and had to serve for that nation, you know, he had to understand himself. You know, I just started thinking, like, okay, well, how many people in this novel are evil based off of the proximity of where they were born and where that idea was able to corrupt them? But still, many break free. It's no excuse. Your boy was happy he got through that book. Anthony Doerr, I feel like it was your what's the word, man? You know, the whatever they call it, Magna Carta. It was a masterpiece. It was definitely a masterpiece, and it was like reading tiny little stories. Again, throughout the years, it is a coming of age story, so you see them from a very young age. But there's a lot of death. There's a lot of hurting. The tax that it takes on everyone's lives. That war, you know what I mean, that happened was heartbreaking to read. But it's very, very important. It's very, very important because history only repeats itself if we're not aware of it. You know what I mean? If you're not aware of it, these wars will continue. And so we read these things to become smarter, and hopefully so that we can pray to our God. And so I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The pacing slowed me down a little bit for a week, but just a hell of a book to read, to engross yourself in. I don't give a damn how long it takes you to read this book. And so, will you read the book? I hope you read the book. What do you think about the book? Did you like the book? I like that book. Respect to you, Anthony Doerr. I don't know any other books by you. You know, I only heard of you just now, 2 weeks ago. But, you know, you're on my map. You're definitely on my map. And so, I'm that way. So, peace. Charleroi out. Live your life. Live your life.